You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com. Welcome everybody to another Workshop Wednesday, all about casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's learning QuickBooks your way. How are you, Rachel? Good to see you.
I'm really good.
All right. Today, I know hopefully everyone has survived the tax deadline, which was yesterday, either filing your extension or filing.
I had to file an extension for myself.
Was that the first time that you've had to done that?
Nope.
Is it always?
These years, the recent years, yes.
I mean, it's just kick it down to the end, for 6 months, and deal with it later. Because does that seem to be like, is there too much time, too much stuff going on at this part of the early part of the year?
I have to say, when it comes to doing the books for my own business, I am very anal about that, and I actually keep it up to the way that I would do my clients in real time. Everything is completely up to date. And when we were done with the fiscal year, I completed the year, closed out everything, saved my statements, my financial statements, and I have everything ready to go. It's just that I have a CPA that does my taxes, and I just have to get everything uploaded to her. And so I have everything ready to scan. I just haven't done it yet. And so really what I have to do is I have to sit down on a weekend day and just do it all. And usually the last couple of years, that's what I've been doing, because I usually am putting out fires and dealing with my clients.
Yeah, their fires are typically more urgent than your own. And a lot of times you end up having this whole the cobbler's shoes. The children of the cobbler have the poorest shoes when you put other people's needs above your own. But I think that's pretty cool that you look at your own books like you own like you're a client.
Yeah. And I do know how to calculate as I'm getting my master's in accounting, I know how to calculate I can compare standard deduction versus itemized, and I can actually sit down and do my own with the pass-through entity, but I just don't have time to do it. And so it's really out of convenience that I'm still having somebody else do it, but it's a lot. It's a lot, especially when you're a firm owner and you do payroll. That's those are the fires I'm talking about. I said I would never do it, but we're doing it.
Here you are doing it again. Yeah, because not only is April 15th a tax deadline for income tax, it's a deadline for 941s and all of those other first quarter things that come into play. Or is it the 20th? I can never.
20th is usually sales tax. I'm not entirely sure, because usually our payroll providers will file the 941s and the year ends, but there is always corrections, and that's really what we're dealing with right now.
But we're going from one deadline to another here. We're talking about tags, which will
not tax, but tags.
Yes, the tags, which is a feature inside of QuickBooks Online that is being, I think the technical term is deprecated, which is discontinued. And we have an article that is really helpful, this QuickBooks article that's in the QR code there at the top, and I think we want to put that in the chat as well for comments. It's a really good article, and let me go ahead and just share my screen here as we're talking about what's happening with tags in QuickBooks Online. I think in 2020, I think, is when tags first came out. And really what a tag is very similar to like categorizing your email in like Gmail, right? Like where you can tag things as important or for class for review or needs attention. You can put and classify, and I'm trying not to use that term of classify because there is a class
Mhm.
list in QuickBooks Online as well. But and that I think is part of the confusion about tags versus classes or locations. Like, what is a tag versus a class? So that's the first thing that we want to unpack a little bit is what is a tag. And Rachel, do you use tags in your firm or with your clients, or have they used it?
No, I have to say, I really just don't. And you know why? The main reason is because we usually can get what we need using classes and locations. And so that's
Right.
really what I wanted to ask you.
Hmm.
And hopefully you'll explain the not just the differences, but how they appear. Because classes and locations are really just a way to show differences on the vertical on your reporting, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not quite sure if that tagging will show up on a profit and loss. That's what I'm not sure about.
Yeah. For lower versions, so for classes and locations, you need to be on QuickBooks Online Plus or Advanced. Right?
Right.
So for other versions of QuickBooks Essentials and Simple Start, tags offered the ability to do what you were doing with classes and locations, but only
Mm,
in a tag basis.
I
And
see.
the structure is that you had a tag group, and then you could have multiple tags be part of that group.
Hmm.
It was basically like a different dimension to be able to categorize transactions. Now, you could only put tags on the transaction itself. So once something was tagged, the entirety of that transaction was tagged that way.
Gotcha.
You could have multiple tags on a transaction, which is different than having a location or a class in which, but it's again only on the header.
Right. Whereas
Close
location and class you can do at the line level. Right.
locations is transactional based. Class is something that you could split, so you could feasibly take
Oh, oh, gotcha.
one line item on and classify it
Right.
in one place, and then another line item split it to
Right.
another class. So,
Yeah.
and then
Which,
ultimately,
which we do that all the time. That's really funny. I didn't realize that you couldn't split the line by locations by line. I thought you could with custom field. Oh no, custom fields don't go on the line. Never mind. Okay.
and this is part of the quagmire, I guess is probably the
Hmm.
easiest way to describe it, of what is going on here. And I used the term dimension purposely because this is leading into things with Intuit Enterprise Suite, where they have now a dimension that you can further categorize your transactions. And I think that there's a couple reasons that I think, and this is all speculation, we are not under any authority as to why this is happening, but I could speculate that this tags and dimensions were conflicting with each other,
Yeah.
or somebody would say, I can already tag my transactions and do the same thing that a dimension is doing. Why would I pay $20,000 a year for just a dimension that I can do in my simple start?
Right. Very
So,
strategic. Yeah, they want
right.
to eliminate redundancy and have it be in the more premium product.
And to just like you said, people weren't using it. So if it's not something that's going to get used, and it may be conflicting with a more premium service offering like Dimensions, that is where we're at today with regarding tags. You could do some of these dimensional types of things. You could run a profit and loss by tag or income and expense by tag and see essentially some job costing types of things
Yeah,
just
there's a
using
lot you could have
tags,
done.
and you're avoiding bumping up to plus or advanced for that functionality too. I think
Or
that's
if you're in Plus and then you run out of classes and locations, which happens all of the time, then you could cross over to tags. And because I've had some clients that do that, and we've thought about using some tags that really hadn't gotten there. But I have to say, I'm a little bummed because I actually always liked the thought that they're always there if I needed them.
Yeah. They're not. Or at least they're not going to be. And this article actually looks like it got updated pretty recently, because yesterday when I was talking about this on the Power Hour, it didn't mention Ledger at all, and here it is. QuickBooks Ledger is listed here on this article. So what's happening is tags are going away. And let's talk a little bit about the timeline. So March 17th, custom fields, and we'll talk about what's actually happening, but custom fields expanded functionality was launched on March 17th. St. Patrick's Day, while everybody was pretending they were Irish, here comes a new functionality, and we'll talk a little bit about what that actually entails. But from that day until May 15th, so now we've got another deadline on the 15th, May 15th, you can now migrate your tags to this expanded functionality of custom fields.
Okay.
After that day, on May 16th, 2025, tags are going to become read-only. You can't create any new tags inside of QuickBooks Online. Now, for the next 3 years, from May 16th, 2025 to May 15th, 2028, we are going to see, you're going to be able to run reports that you did before. You will have all of the read-only functionality of tags, so tags will not just magically disappear.
Oh, that's nice, because that's what I thought was happening, but they'll remain read-only. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. They are read-only. You can run your reports and generate the reports on historical documents until May 15th, 2028. So 3 years from now, then something will happen. They'll probably the screen won't even exist at that point. Remains to be seen what will happen in 3 years, but that is the plan, and that's the timeline for tags. And the reason that all of this is taking place is because rather than just remove the whole feature, which is certainly entitled to, they're trying to make a game plan for people that actually did use this feature.
Yeah.
Because nothing is worse than adopting a feature and then it just goes away. Like, where'd it go? What happens?
Frustrating. And I imagine there's some people that use the heck out of them.
Right. Yeah. Especially those in Simple Start or Essentials that were using it for a little bit of job costing abilities, or that extra dimension of reporting that gives them the ability to do so. They probably relied on it pretty heavily. So what's happening is that in order to appease people that were using it and allow them to continue to use, to move forward and do the same things, is that they're migrating tags to custom fields. And in order to do that, they had to borrow a feature from QuickBooks Online Advanced and add that to lower level versions of QuickBooks Online. All right. So custom fields in every other version except QuickBooks Online Advanced is basically a free text field. And in the past, Simple Start didn't have any. Essentials and Plus had 3. And they were just free text fields that you would have to type in, right? With a tag, it's a list, right? So you have things to choose from and drop downs and those types of things. So what Intuit did is it created a custom field that is a drop down inside of QuickBooks Online that you can have under or at a maximum of 100 drop downs to choose from. So having a drop down allows people to eliminate mistakes, right? So if you have, rather than having William and Bill and Billy as a potential option, you only have one choice to choose from when it's a drop down, and you're always choosing the right one.
Yeah.
Because if you then try to run reports based off of William, Bill, and Billy as your custom field, you're going to have 3 different choices and you're going to have 3 different options. But if by choosing a drop down, then that eliminates that potential for human error. So they borrowed that drop down custom field and added that to all of the other different versions of QuickBooks Online. Simple Start now has one custom field, and it's that option. Essentials now has 4 custom fields. It's the original 3 that they had plus this additional custom field, and then plus also from 3 to 4. Now, in those different versions of QuickBooks Online, if you create a custom field, you can choose and define that custom field as a dropdown if you wanted to, even if you're not using tags. So you now have some extra functionality in your QuickBooks Online, and you can take that defined field of a dropdown and create a custom field. Kudos to Intuit for giving this as an option or an opportunity.
Yeah.
So people who aren't using tags kind of get a bonus here by having that new option there.
Yeah, they
Right?
get an extra custom field. Quick question for you. Okay, so let's say somebody was a really heavy user of tags, and not necessarily just because they were in Simple Start or Essentials, but let's say they just have a lot of categorization and that they want to slice and dice. And so they're using classes and locations and subclasses, but they're also using tags. What about, because again, my perspective is always, you don't have to do every little thing in QuickBooks Online. What if you took your list of tags and then put them in something like Method and then embedded that into your QBO? Do you think you could still use a tag-like functionality in something like Method?
Something like Method or an add-on to QuickBooks Online. Method's really nice because it synchronizes. If there is a specific option inside of QuickBooks, it synchronizes it back and forth, and it's pretty. I hate to use the word seamless. That's a trigger word for me, but it is fairly seamless when it does that. Method by itself actually has unlimited custom fields, so you're not limited by the number of custom fields, and then you can just utilize those custom fields however you want to, but you're going to be doing most of that work inside of Method, and that's where you're going to be living. So your reports and those types of things are going to be inside of Method as opposed to how it feeds back into QuickBooks. That's what I would say would be like the best practice there. If you're going to be using something there, then it's going to see it to the finish line, unless there is an exact equal and opposite. Now,
Gotcha. Yeah.
what we talked about yesterday on the Power Hour, because this is a defined custom field from Advanced, and the API does not allow third parties to integrate with that kind of defined custom field. we will likely see that all of those third parties won't see this new custom field that has been added because it is a defined custom field.
Oh, I didn't know that. So they
Yeah.
they can only see undefined custom fields?
Basically the three custom fields that
Yeah.
um, essentials and plus allow, because they're free text, right? So you can
What's the point of locking up that API for this custom field? I don't get it.
just because it's a little bit more complicated, because it is a defined, there is a definition to it. You can define custom fields in advance as a number, as a date, or
Right.
as a drop down, right? So it won't know what the definition of that custom field is through the API.
I see. Okay.
It's just a little bit more complicated and
Yeah.
probably well above either of our pay grades as to why, but that's what I'm gathering, because it's been a request for a long time for a lot of third-party applications to be
Yeah.
able to see that. So the first person or the first entity that's going to give itself access is going to be Intuit. And you'll probably see an API integration in Enterprise Suite being able to work with these custom fields as defined before you'll see other people allowed to do it, because they're probably going to want to break it first.
Yeah.
Before allowing the multitude of apps gateway into those custom fields. But that's more custom fields than what's happening here with tags. What's happening, though, is they're allowing you to migrate your tags to this new custom field, this new defined custom field. And there's a walkthrough of how you do that in this article, but it's really a straightforward process. But there is some buts about that, right? Unlike what you could do with tags today, is you could have multiple tags, multiple tag groups assigned to one singular transaction. Because this is going from a tag to a custom field with a drop down, you're basically only going to be able to choose one choice on that custom field.
Yeah.
The only other way that you would add multiple tags to a transaction is if you use one of those other custom fields, assign it as a drop down with the same amount of choices, and then you can choose two different custom fields that are this drop down, right? Remains to be seen how much of an annoyance that is going to be. But if you had multiple tags in your historical transaction, that's now a new conversation to be having with how this is going into the new things.
And this is also really cool too, because this is creating the need for more systems people like yourself to help jump in and help customers do this techie kind of stuff that they might have no idea how to do. So this is an opportunity for accountants and bookkeepers to add on an additional service.
Yeah, this is, and at least just being aware of what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
And before, as a we're just gonna migrate and move forward. Not exactly, right? So just make sure you're aware of the ramifications of doing all this stuff. So you can convert your tags to a custom field. The but about that is you're only going to be able to add one tag moving forward. And if you have a tag group with individual tags, you don't get the group. You just get the final destination of the tag group : individual tag. So
okay. So you do get the parent and the child. You at least get the parent reference.
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll see that in the drop down to choose from, but again, you won't be able to choose just the parent if you did. So you would have to create another choice for yourself to be able to choose that parent tag if you wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. Now, another yeah but about all of this is that it doesn't do anything to your historical transactions. Right. So if you've tagged everything up until today, those tags don't move over to migrating to the new custom field, does not go back to those historical transactions and add those tags again. So you've got a dividing point here where here's a new way to move forward. I can't do anything with my historical stuff, right?
But they can still pull a P&L by tag and have it appear in read-only form exactly how it always had appeared.
Yeah. But if you are using these tags from today moving forward and you're trying to run a historical report, that tag won't be on those historical transactions. So then you can have two different reports to work with.
Yes, that's annoying.
Yeah, I think that's the nicest way to put it.
This is what it is from January 1st up to whatever that deadline was, April,
right.
Whatever. When is the actual, when are they cutting off the tags?
The tag.
Oh my gosh! Did you hear what I said? Cutting off the tags.
Cutting off the tags. It's like a mattress.
Yeah.
You're cutting.
Don't cut off those tags.
Exactly. So they become fully read-only on May 16th.
Oh, I see. So it's the middle of the month.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the report from January 1st to May 15th, and then here's the report from May 15th. And I make such a effort to make sure I don't do something like that, right? Like, I'm going to use this app to put this information together, like in the middle of the year, so your P&L is going to look like this for this part and that for that part. I hate that.
So our friends over at Right Tool, and I know you love Right Tool, as well, they've been working really hard because they saw this coming.
Yeah.
And they now have an option to be able to migrate your tags, your custom fields, back on historical transactions using, this of course is not the free version of Right Tool, it's the paid version, because this is going to be a huge time saver for a lot of people, especially for those, maybe you just want to go back to the beginning of the year for these historical transactions, so that way you don't have this mid-year cutoff of different reporting.
Yeah.
So they've offered a promo code for us. With Right Tool, you can go and take a look at the app there on the Chrome extension store and take a look at that. And then we also have a promo code for the first year. So where is that? I had it up here. There we go. Okay. So the promo code is S of B, not SOFB, but S of B. So for School of Bookkeeping, you get a discount on the pro version for the first year.
Oh, that's awesome. And I have to tell you, like, I cannot live without Right Tool. There's so many different things I love about it, but it's incredible. We all have, my entire team, we all use the paid version. And if somebody was going to hold a gun to my head and say, you have to get rid of every single app and tool that you use in your business except for one, like, immediately I would stick with Right Tool, but everything else would go.
Yeah, it's definitely a time savers. I know I was trying to talk to Hector today to joining us to talk about this feature, but he is actually doing a webinar right now.
Yeah. I know, it's funny. The Right Tool updates, and it's funny because I usually always have that on my calendar. But it's nice though, if you do, just FYI, if you do get Right Tool and then you do subscribe to those Right Tool updates, you can always watch them in the recorded version after the fact.
So they offer an option to be able to, once you've migrated your tags to these new custom fields, then you'll be able to then use Write tool to modify historical transactions so that you have consistency on your transactions
Mhm.
with this migration, because that's part of the challenge of this, is that it's half baked and they're trying to use features that are already there.
Yeah.
This is some puts and takes, right? So they've given us a little bit more greater functionality across the board with this drop down custom field for all lower versions that don't normally have it. But it's it's only giving you one tag to choose from on those transactions, and it has a lot of supporting or reporting issues as well. So those people that were using okay, so let me go back here. So in those other versions, you're only going to have, this is only custom field that you'll be able to assign to transactions. So you don't have the option to assign this custom field like you do in advanced to customers, vendors, and projects. So you don't have that option in the lower version. So it's only transactions as well. And you only have a maximum of 100 to choose from on that custom field. So if you have a huge tag list that is more than 100 options, you're only going to have 100 of them to choose from. So this report, I'm sorry, this chart on this article is really useful, and not, I wouldn't necessarily just have this for tags, but this is what reports support. I can't say it. There's too many things that rhyme here. What reports support custom fields by version, right? So you've got Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, and Advanced, and every report that they have, and whether or not it supports custom fields or not, right? So as you can see, scrolling up and down here, Advanced checks all the boxes. Plus, there's a few sales by location detail doesn't support custom fields. Sales by class detail doesn't support custom fields, or taxable sales detail. So, just things to keep in mind, that while you're migrating this over to custom fields, some reports could be actually affected. And the biggest one is the profit and loss by custom field does not exist.
Mhm.
So those people that were using tags as a way to do income and expenses by tags, even though you're moving this over to a custom field, you can't run a profit and loss by custom
Well,
field.
that's annoying. What about in Write tool? No, I don't think so. Because they don't
No,
have,
no,
I don't think they have additional reports that don't exist in QBO.
yeah, they don't have any secret
It's not
secret.
their, yeah, okay.
And then the other option is, okay, I have a profit and loss by class. Can I migrate these tags to classes? No,
Nope.
can't do that either. And then this other
Or you
option,
could just upgrade to advanced and then just use unlimited classes and just turn
exactly.
them into classes.
Yeah, you just be creating your own class list, and you can do parent child relationship with classes
Hmm.
as well. But again, you only have one per transaction or one per line, so you can't necessarily split it out. You would have to split out that in order to classify it separately. And then, can I add custom fields within the bank feeds and rules? No. So there's a lot of no's down here at the bottom.
Yeah, and that's annoying because you can add the tag in the bank feeds. So
So
that's gone.
yeah. So this is unfortunately part of the side effects of deprecating
Yeah.
the removing a feature like this, is that all the things that you did use this with are no longer available.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's basically, okay, we're getting rid of this feature that you guys used to have a lot of customization and flexibility with. We're going to completely take it away from you, but we will let you migrate it into something that just isn't as good.
yeah, and that's why during this time period, any of your useful reports, that you have today with tags. You want to download them and export them, because here's what, down at the bottom here, what happens to tags on my historical transactions after May 15th, 2028? They're going to be removed altogether.
Yeah.
So you will see no tags.
That's a long time for them to save, and at that point they'll be 3 years and above in the past, and they have plenty of time to save all that. Wait a second, I have a quick question. But what about if you use the backup tool Rewind? Could you potentially go back into Rewind once 2028 comes and look at a version from when your tags were still active and find them that way?
No, because it won't, like, that feature just won't even exist. So even if you, because the tags are still going to be there, it's just they're not going to be able to be shown. So even if you choose a restore point where the tags were there, it's still the program or the application, QuickBooks Online, won't even allow you to see it. Right?
That's like probably a really obvious question for developers, but I'm not one, so I didn't know.
That was a good thought, though.
I was like, maybe all of a sudden it'll just appear. I don't know.
I could see people trying it. Like, oh, I forgot to get my reports, I'll just restore back. Now they've got a bigger problem because they've gone to a restore point over, it's over top. So I guess they would have to restore a later version. Once they would realize it. And that's going to be a big challenge, especially if you've got payroll. Because if you're running QuickBooks Online payroll, Rewind doesn't, there's no backup service that restores your payroll. So it's a big, that could be a big challenge if you've overwritten everything and now you don't have payroll anymore. We may talk about that at another workshop. But we moved some topics around to make sure that we squoze in this tag discussion, because there is a deadline here.
I don't think that's a word. There is in. I think you have to say squeezed it in. We squeezed it in.
Squeezed it in doesn't sound right.
Squoze in.
I'm just making up my own English language here.
We have we can at least pull the reports, looking at the tags to the point where my daughter graduates from high school in the spring of 2028.
So set a note and a reminder on your phone before she graduates to make sure.
High school graduation. What? Hold on.
Don't walk across the stage yet, Marion. I need to download my tag report.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no fun here on the workshop here. But that should hopefully, that article there, I think Intuit, kudos to them for they've done a really good job with that particular article, and it's got some great resources in there as well. Bookmark that one if you need to, and we will see you next week on the workshop. We're not going to see you next week. We're going to take a week off because I have a conflict with another meeting and a webinar that I'm working with next week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, where we'll actually have Settle come on.
Oh yeah, I love Settle.
And they're going to talk a little bit about their inventory management, bill pay, and capital funding solution. Really interesting option in this space here. So we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday, and I hope you all have a great week. And that wraps up another insightful episode of Workshop Wednesday, brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and took away some valuable tips and strategies to enhance your bookkeeping practice. Remember, if you want to stay ahead in the world of bookkeeping and accounting, be sure to visit Schoolofbookkeeping.com. With a wide range of courses, resources, and expert guidance, you'll find everything you need to sharpen your skills and boost your career. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content every week. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us on social media or send us an email at support@schoolofbookkeeping.com. We love hearing from our listeners and are always looking for new ideas to explore. Thanks for tuning in to Workshop Wednesday. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep excelling in your bookkeeping journey. I'm Dan DeLong, and we'll see you next week.